we are diving into some serious science.
Okay.
But trust me,
All right.
this is way cooler than staring at a textbook.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're talking about your immune system.
Absolutely.
Specifically, the incredible cellular army
Yes.
that's fighting for you 24/7, even when you're just relaxing
Yeah.
with your favorite podcast.
It really is remarkable when you think about it.
Right.
We're talking about this complex network of cells,
Yeah,
each with its own unique role to play
Right.
in keeping you healthy.
it's like a microscopic action movie
It is.
happening inside us
Yeah.
all the time.
Definitely.
And you've provided us
Yeah.
with a chapter excerpt that breaks down
I have.
these cellular heroes,
Good.
from the highly specialized lymphocytes
Right.
to the first responders of the innate immune system.
Yes.
I'm ready to meet the troops.
Let's do it.
All right, so first up, our source dives into lymphocytes.
Okay.
And this is where things get really interesting,
Right.
because these cells are the backbone of your adaptive immunity,
That's right.
meaning they learn and remember threats,
Yes.
which is why my friend vaccines work.
Exactly.
That's B-cell memory in action.
Right, absolutely. Unlike your innate immune response, which
Yeah.
is more of a general defense,
Yeah.
lymphocytes are all about targeted attacks
Uh-huh.
and long-term memory.
It's like having your own personal bodyguard unit
Yes,
that remembers the bad guys from previous encounters.
exactly.
So our source breaks lymphocytes into two main types,
Okay.
B cells and T cells. D cells, as we just mentioned, are the memory masters.
Yes,
They're also antibody factories,
right.
pumping out these targeted proteins that can neutralize specific threats.
That's right.
And here's where it gets even cooler.
Okay.
Some B cells are like special forces,
Yes,
stationed in specific areas,
right.
ready to tackle common threats.
Exactly.
These are your B1 and marginal zone V cells,
Okay.
hanging out in places like the spleen and lymph nodes,
Right.
ready to ambush any invaders that dare to show up.
That's right.
Then you have the elite intel units,
Okay.
the B2 cells.
Those B2 cells are fascinating.
Okay.
They can recognize a mind-boggling array of foreign invaders.
Wow.
And they produce highly specific antibodies to neutralize them.
Right.
And as you mentioned, crucially, they remember these encounters. So the next time that same threat appears,
Right.
the immune response is even faster and more effective.
So it's like,
This is why you don't get chickenpox twice.
oh, right.
Your B cells remember the varicella-zoster virus
Right.
and are ready to fight it off.
Okay. That's incredibly helpful in understanding how that whole process works.
Good.
But let's move on to the other dynamic player in the lymphocyte world,
Okay.
T cells.
All right.
Now, these guys mature in the thymus.
Yes, they do.
You know,
Right?
I feel like the thymus is the forgotten organ.
It is.
Can you give us a little refresher on what it is and where it is?
It's actually a small gland located right behind your breastbone.
Okay.
And while it may be small,
Right.
it plays a vital role in our immune system.
Right.
Because the thymus is essentially a T-cell boot camp.
Okay.
It's where immature T-cells go through
Interesting.
a rigorous training process to learn how to recognize and attack specific targets.
Wow.
And get this,
Okay.
each T-cell that graduates from this boot camp
Right.
has its own unique hit list of targets,
Yeah.
meaning they're trained to recognize and destroy specific foreign invaders.
That's some serious specialization.
It is.
No wonder our immune system is so good at its job.
Right?
But I'm guessing
Yes.
there are different types of T cells,
There are.
each with its own specialty.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We have helper T cells,
Okay.
which are like the battlefield commanders.
So they're not.
They don't directly attack the enemy,
Okay.
but they orchestrate the whole immune response
Yeah, I did.
by telling other cells what to do.
It's more like the strategist.
Exactly.
Oh,
They release chemical signals called cytokines
Right.
that act like messages to other immune cells,
Okay.
directing them to the site of infection or telling them which weapons to deploy.
Wow.
We have several types of helper T cells,
Okay.
each with a slightly different role.
Okay.
Th1 cells are crucial for fighting off intracellular threats,
Right.
like viruses hiding inside your own cells.
Okay.
Then there are Th2 cells,
Okay.
which are particularly important for dealing with parasites and also play a role in allergies.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So the next time I have a sneezing fit thanks to some pollen,
Right.
I can thank my Th2 cells for trying to protect me.
Well, it's a bit more complicated than that. Allergies are actually a case of the immune system overreacting to something harmless.
Right.
But yes,
Okay.
the H2 cells are involved in those responses.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So we've got our Th1 and Th2 cells.
Right.
But we're not done yet, are we?
No, we're not.
There was another type of helper T cell.
Right. We also have Th17 cells,
T17, okay.
which are essential for fighting off extracellular bacteria and fungi.
Okay.
They're particularly good at recruiting neutrophils,
Right.
which are part of your innate immune system. We can talk more about those in a bit.
Okay. This is fascinating.
Yeah.
It's like each type of helper T cell has its own specialty,
Right.
its own set of enemies it's trained to fight.
They do.
But what about those cells that are more hands-on? The ones that actually do the dirty work of destroying infected cells?
You're talking about cytotoxic T cells.
That's right.
They're the assassins of the immune system,
Right.
directly targeting and eliminating infected cells.
Cytotoxic T cells, they're especially important for fighting viruses, right?
Exactly.
Oh.
They're crucial for eliminating cells that have been hijacked by viruses,
Right.
preventing the virus from replicating and spreading further.
Wow.
But they're not limited to just viruses.
Oh.
They also play a role in fighting cancer
Okay.
by recognizing and destroying cancerous cells.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay.
They're like the body's own personal assassins.
That's right.
And to think all of this is happening inside us right now.
I know. It's incredible.
But before we move on to the other fascinating players in our immune system's lineup, we have one more type of T cell to cover: regulatory T cells.
Right.
They feel like the peacekeepers of the operation.
You got it. Okay.
Regulatory T cells are essential for preventing the immune system from going overboard
Okay.
and attacking your body's own cells,
Right.
which can happen in autoimmune diseases.
So these are the cells that keep everything in check.
Yes.
Making sure the immune response stays balanced.
Exactly.
Because if those regulatory cells aren't functioning correctly,
Right.
that's when you can get conditions where the immune system attacks healthy tissues.
Precisely.
Right.
Autoimmune diseases,
Right.
such as rheumatoid arthritis or lupus,
Yeah.
are unfortunately a case of mistaken identity,
Right.
the immune system, for reasons that are still not fully understood.
Starts attacking the body's own tissues as if they were foreign invaders.
That's incredible.
It is.
And it highlights just how important those regulatory T cells are
Yes.
in maintaining that delicate balance.
Absolutely.
Okay.
They're essential for preventing collateral damage
Right.
and keeping the immune response in check.
It's like having a highly trained security force
Right.
that can neutralize threats, but also knows how to de-escalate the situation
Right.
and prevent unnecessary harm.
A perfect analogy.
Right. So we've spent all this time with the incredibly specialized world of lymphocytes.
Right.
The T cells and B cells that can learn, remember,
Yeah.
and target with incredible precision.
They are impressive.
But they're only half of the story.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Okay.
It's like calling in an elite special forces team for a mission. They're amazing at what they do,
Right.
but they can't be everywhere at once.
Right.
You need a rapid response team on the ground,
Okay.
ready to handle any threat,
Right.
even before the specialists arrive.
Okay, so that's where innate immunity comes in.
Exactly.
This is the more immediate but less specific defense system
Yes,
that acts as our first line of defense.
it is.
Okay.
Think of your innate immune system as the local police force.
Okay.
They're always on patrol,
Right.
ready to respond to any signs of trouble,
Right.
whether it's a suspicious package or a full-blown break-in.
Wow.
And just like a good police force, they have different units with specialized skills.
I like where this is going.
Yeah.
Our source dives into some of those specialized units.
Okay.
Starting with the natural killer cells.
Right?
Or NK cells, as they're known in the biz.
Okay.
They're described as the security team always on the lookout for anything suspicious.
And they're really good at their job.
Right.
What makes NK cells so cool is that they don't need MHC restriction.
Okay, but before we go any further,
Yeah.
can we unpack that term?
Sure.
I'm guessing our listeners might be wondering what MHC restriction even means.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You see, most cells in our body
Right.
have these little identification cards called MHC molecules on their surface.
Okay.
Think of them like cellular IDs.
Okay, got it.
When a cell gets infected,
Right.
its MHC molecules display bits of the virus or bacteria,
Okay.
essentially waving a red flag that says,
So they're like, hey, immune system, I'm infected. Come take me out.
oh, they're like signaling.
Okay, I'm with you so
That's
far.
good. So, but here's the thing.
Okay.
Some sneaky viruses and even tumor cells
What?
try to hide their ID cards.
Oh, really?
Making it harder for the immune system to recognize them.
Wow. Sneaky.
They're like criminals trying to slip past security by wearing a disguise.
Sneaky.
Ah.
So how do NK cells fit into this?
Well, NK cells are like those super observant security guards
Okay.
who can spot a fake ID a mile away,
Wow.
even without checking for specifics.
Oh, wow.
They don't rely on MHC molecules to identify a threat.
Okay.
Instead,
Yeah.
they have this innate ability to sense when a cell is stressed or acting abnormally. If a cell looks suspicious,
Yeah.
they take it out, no questions asked.
That's incredible.
It is pretty amazing.
So they're like the body's own internal affairs division,
Yeah.
making sure no one's getting away with anything shady.
Precisely.
Okay.
And that's why they're so important for recognizing and destroying tumor cells,
Right.
which often try to evade detection by the immune system.
Right.
They're a crucial part of our body's natural anti-cancer defense.
Well, that makes me appreciate NK cells even more.
As you should.
But we've got a whole other branch of innate immunity to explore.
We do.
The cleanup crew,
Right.
as our source calls them.
Okay.
The phagocytes.
And what a crew they are.
Right.
These are the cells that literally engulf and destroy pathogens and cellular debris,
Oh, wow.
keeping our tissues clean and healthy.
It's like they're the sanitation workers of the immune system,
Yeah.
making sure nothing piles up and causes trouble.
Exactly.
And first up in this cleanup crew are the neutrophils.
Right.
Short-lived, but numerous.
Yeah, that's right.
Our source compares them to the first wave of responders to an emergency,
They are.
which makes sense considering they're the most abundant type of white blood cell in our blood.
Exactly.
Right.
Think of neutrophils as the first responders,
Okay.
rushing to the scene of an infection to contain the damage.
Right.
They're quick, efficient,
Okay.
and absolutely essential in those early stages of infection.
Wow.
They only live for a few days,
Right.
but during that time, they're incredibly active,
Right.
engulfing and destroying pathogens like there's no tomorrow.
Wow. Talk about dedication.
I know, right?
But what about the heavy lifting?
Okay.
Our source mentions macrophages.
Yes.
These are the cells that clean up cellular debris,
Right?
present evidence to the T cells.
Yes, they do.
And they can live for months.
They can.
Sensing a theme here.
Yeah.
Our immune system definitely believes in hard work and dedication.
Macrophages are the true workhorses of the immune system.
Wow.
They're involved in everything from clearing out dead cells and debris
Right.
to orchestrating tissue repair and regeneration.
Wow.
And you're right,
Yeah.
they're incredibly long-lived, which
Right.
allows them to constantly patrol our tissues,
Right.
keeping things clean and orderly.
It's amazing how much is going on in our bodies
It is.
that we're completely unaware
It's
of.
incredible.
But you mentioned something interesting about macrophages, that
Yes,
they present evidence to the T cells.
they do.
What's that all about?
Okay.
Do they carry tiny little detective notebooks or something?
Not quite. But they are a key link between the innate and adaptive immune systems.
Right.
You see, macrophages don't just clean up debris,
Yeah.
they also break down pathogens they've engulfed
Right.
and present fragments of those pathogens called
Okay.
antigens
Yes.
on their surface.
Antigens. So basically they're presenting wanted posters of the enemy to the adaptive immune system.
You got it. That's fascinating.
It is a fascinating process.
So
This process of antigen presentation
yeah.
is what activates the adaptive immune response
Wow.
and helps those T cells and B cells we talked about earlier
Right?
to develop their targeted defenses.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
It's like this incredible relay race
it is.
with the innate immune system passing the baton to the adaptive immune system
Yes.
to finish the job. Wow. And to make this relay race even more efficient, we
Okay.
have another fascinating group of cells
Okay.
called antigen-presenting cells, or APCs.
Okay.
They're like the dedicated messengers,
Yeah.
gathering intelligence
Right.
and delivering it straight to the T cells.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
Good.
Tell me more about these APCs and their crucial role in our immune system's intelligence network. So we've got these dedicated messengers, these antigen-presenting cells, rushing intel to the T cells. It's like they're carrying top-secret files, right? What kind of cells are we talking about here?
There are a few key players, but our source focuses on two in particular, dendritic cells and follicular dendritic cells.
Okay, so tell me everything. What makes these two cell types so important for our immune system's intelligence network?
Well, imagine dendritic cells as those intrepid explorers venturing out into the wilds of your body, your skin, your gut, lining your respiratory tract, places where pathogens are most likely to invade.
Okay, so they're the ones on the front lines gathering intel on potential threats.
Exactly. And once they encounter a pathogen, they capture it, break it down, and then here's the fascinating part. They travel through the lymphatic system to the lymph nodes, which are like the command centers of your immune system.
It's like they're bringing evidence back to headquarters.
Exactly. Once they arrive at the lymph nodes, they present those captured antigens to the T cells, essentially sounding the alarm and initiating the adaptive immune response.
Wow, that's incredible. So they're like the Paul Reveres of the immune system shouting, the pathogens are coming, the pathogens are coming.
That's a great analogy. They're definitely raising the alarm and mobilizing the troops. Now, on the other hand, we have follicular dendritic cells, which are more like the intelligence analysts at headquarters.
Okay, so if dendritic cells are out in the field gathering raw intel, follicular dendritic cells are back at headquarters making sense of it all.
Exactly. They're found in the lymph nodes, and their specialty is presenting antigens to B cells, helping them to fine-tune their antibody response and become even more effective at targeting specific threats. They're crucial for optimizing the adaptive immune response and ensuring that those B cells are armed with the most effective weapons.
This is fascinating. It's like a perfectly choreographed dance with all these different cells playing their part, communicating and coordinating their efforts to keep us healthy.
Yeah.
It's really quite remarkable when you think about it.
It really is. And we've only just scratched the surface. Our source also touches on a few other players in this complex system: mast cells, basophils, and eosinophils.
Right. I remember seeing those names on the list.
Yeah.
What are their roles? Are they part of the adaptive or innate immune system?
They're actually part of the innate immune system, and they're often grouped together because they're all involved in inflammation and fighting parasites.
Inflammation. That's interesting because inflammation is often seen as a bad thing, right? Like
Yeah,
when you sprain your ankle and it swells up, that's inflammation.
you're right. Inflammation can definitely be uncomfortable, and in some cases, it can even be harmful. But it's actually a crucial part of the immune response. It's the body's way of sending extra blood fluids and immune cells to the site of an injury or infection to help with healing and defense.
Okay, that makes sense. So where do these cells, mast cells, basophils, and eosinophils fit into the inflammation picture?
Think of them as the heavy artillery of the immune system. They release a whole arsenal of inflammatory mediators, things like histamine, leukotrienes, and cytokines, that can either be incredibly beneficial or in some cases lead to allergic reactions if their response is misdirected.
Ah, so that's where allergies come in the immune system, or in this case, these particular cells overreacting to something that's not actually a threat, like pollen or pet dander.
Precisely. It highlights just how complex and finely tuned the immune system needs to be. You want a system that's strong enough to fight off dangerous invaders, but also smart enough to avoid attacking your own body.
It's a delicate balance for sure. So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from the specialized T cells and B cells of the adaptive immune system to the first responders of the innate immune system, and even those heavy hitters involved in inflammation.
Mm.
It's amazing how much is going on inside us that we're completely unaware of.
It really is. And what's even more amazing is that our understanding of the immune system is constantly evolving. Scientists are discovering new cell types, new functions, new interactions all the time. What we've covered today is really just the tip of the iceberg.
That's both exciting and a little bit daunting, wouldn't you say, knowing that there's so much more to learn.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that there's always more to explore, more to uncover when it comes to the human body and its incredible ability to defend itself.
So for our listeners out there who are now armed with this newfound knowledge of their own internal defense force, what's the takeaway? What should they be pondering as they go about their day, encountering microscopic enemies left and right?
I think the biggest takeaway is an appreciation for the incredible complexity and power of your own immune system. We often take our health for granted, but the truth is our bodies are constantly waging war against a sea of potential threats, and they're remarkably good at it.
It really makes you want to take better care of yourself, doesn't it? Eat well,
Yeah.
get enough sleep,
Mhm.
manage stress, all those things we know contribute to a healthy immune system.
Absolutely. It's all about supporting those microscopic heroes working tirelessly behind the scenes to keep us healthy.
Well said. And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into the immune system's cellular army. It's been an incredible journey through the intricacies of lymphocytes, phagocytes, antigen-presenting cells, and those special ops teams, the mast cells, basophils, and eosinophils. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a newfound respect for my inner defenses.
As you should. It's a remarkable system we often take for granted.
So until next time, keep those immune systems strong. And remember, there's a whole world of fascinating science happening inside you right now.